So here's some scary news just in time for tax season. A new report found that cases of identity-related theft jumped 650% from 2008 to 2012. Isn't that staggering? So what's the IRS doing to prevent thieves from ripping you off? And how can you be sure that you don't become a victim? Here with all this is Colonel Cedric Leighton. He is a former member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and a cybersecurity expert. Why do you think we've seen such a dramatic rise?
Well, Melissa, I think we've seen a rise because it's easy for identity thieves, hackers, to get into the IRS systems and the tax preparation systems. So what that means for all of us is that we have to pay close attention to our tax preparers, since about 90% of us either use software to prepare our taxes or go to H&R Block or similar companies to do that. So those are the kinds of things that we have to watch out for. And then we have to watch out for it when the tax form gets to the IRS itself, because there's the possibility of data theft within the IRS system as well.
Well, what do you mean watch out for it? Because I feel fairly, once the IRS has it, what can you possibly do to protect yourself? They're the ones that have got it.
Well, that's part of the problem, but what you can do is you can always watch your bank accounts to make sure that nobody is doing those kinds of things. But here's the key point. When you have identity theft happening to you in the tax season, the best thing that you can do is actually file early as you possibly can, because what identity thieves try to do is they try to file as early as possible so that when you finally file your taxes, all of a sudden, let's say you're due a refund, all of a sudden what happens is the IRS informs you, hey, you can't get a refund because someone already collected and filed a tax return in your name. And that's how a lot of people find out about this.
Really? Is that the most common kind of scam, is somebody goes in and files a return on your behalf? How do they know what deductions you are going to take, or how do they know all of your information?
They don't need to know all of your information, and they don't need to know all of your deductions. They can create a totally false persona simply based on your social security number. They can also do that with dead people, but of course living people are the ones that bear most of the consequences in these cases, unless the dead person died within the last year, and then it becomes a matter for the heirs to handle. So it's a very tough situation, but it's one of those where you have to really do your best to file early and also work very closely with the IRS once something like that happens.
Yeah, I was kidding about the deductions, but they would need to have more than just your social security number. Don't they have to match up to how much income you actually had? What kind of documents, how would they have done this?
Not necessarily, because what they can do is they can take a job, for example, in your name and get paid, or even have a dummy job, and they can get paid for that, so they can have even more money that comes in, or less money as the case may be. It's usually a case of whatever the identity thief wants to do. And so what they end up doing is they end up falsifying the account in essence. They may also open up bank accounts in your name, and then they'll come up with all kinds of different things, and to say the least, it gets very confusing for the IRS to deal with it. But they do have several ways of dealing with it. They have a fraud unit that they've established about 4 years ago. The problem is that they still have to have people go among at least 21 different entities before they can get a resolution to their identity problems, should they have something like that.
That sounds crazy.
Something like that.
Are you safer
Yes.
if you file online or by mail? Which is better in terms of protecting yourself from identity theft?
They're both very risky, unfortunately. For example, if you're in a rural or suburban area and you have those standard mailboxes that aren't secured, it's very easy for thieves to get into those mailboxes and actually look at what you've got there, and if they see something either going to or from the IRS, they can take it and they can do some damage to it. So that's for the mail part. If you file electronically using the e-file system, it generally is fairly secure, but there are several points within the process that are vulnerable to interception, and if the encryption is not strong, they can go in and get after data, particularly if they're looking for a particular individual.
Scary. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
All right.
My pleasure, Melissa. Thank you.